Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and let me know in the comments what you think really drives someone to murder for love and money. Because what you're about to hear isn't fiction. It's a real story of betrayal, greed, and a teenage obsession that spiraled into something truly horrific. It started on a quiet Sunday morning in Galveston County, Texas. The air was still, heavy with humidity, and neighbors were just beginning their day when a single call shattered the calm. 911, what's your emergency? A trembling voice replied. I think my mother's dead. Inside a one-story home on a peaceful suburban street, police found 61-year-old Tammy King lying lifeless beneath the pile of blankets on her living room floor. A faint trace of blood had soaked through the fabric. Her house was unnervingly tidy, too tidy. Her purse was missing, the jewelry box stood open, and drawers had been emptied. But there were no signs of forced entry. Detective Mark Hensley was the first on scene. He'd seen dozens of homicides, but something about this one felt wrong. No broken windows, no scattered struggle, no panic. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing, and probably knew Tammy. The neighbors described Tammy as kind, soft-spoken, and deeply protective of her granddaughter, Tara King, a high school senior who lived just a few blocks away. When detectives tried to reach Tara that morning, she didn't answer. Neither did her boyfriend, Uriah Urick, an 18-year-old dropout known around town for his temper and strange fixation on fast money. By noon, detectives tracked Tara down at a friend's house. She appeared calm, almost too calm, when told her grandmother had been found dead. Oh my God, I don't understand. But something flickered behind her eyes when they mentioned robbery, a flash of fear or guilt. When asked where she'd been the previous night, Tara said she'd fallen asleep watching a movie with Uriah. Uriah, when questioned separately, said they'd been out driving around. Their stories didn't match, and as investigators dug deeper, inconsistencies started piling up. Forensic techs swept Tammy's house and uncovered a single .38 caliber shell casing beneath the couch. No gun, no fingerprints, just a trace of gunpowder residue. But the most chilling discovery came from Tammy's phone. The last call she ever made was to Tara just 2 hours before she died. When detectives checked surveillance from nearby gas stations, they spotted a dark sedan resembling Uriah's car around midnight, parked just minutes from Tammy's neighborhood. 2 figures were seen exiting, both wearing hoodies. They disappeared down the street and never came back on camera. Later that evening, as the Texas sun bled into the horizon, investigators brought Tara back in for questioning. This time, her confidence cracked. She asked for a glass of water, her hands trembling. And when the detective returned, she quietly asked, If I tell you what happened, will I still go to prison?" The detective froze. "What are you trying to tell me, Tara?" Her voice broke into a whisper. "It was supposed to be a robbery, not this." The room fell silent. Outside the interrogation window, officers exchanged uneasy looks, because at that moment the truth began to surface, and it was far darker than anyone expected. But when they opened the locked shed behind Tammy's house later that night, what they found changed everything. The shed behind Tammy King's house sat about 30 feet from the back porch, half hidden by tall grass and a rusted lawnmower. When detectives pried open the lock, the hinges squealed like something protesting to stay shut. Inside, beneath the smell of gasoline and old tools, they found a duffel bag, half open, stuffed with cash, jewelry, and a small handgun. The gun was a .38 revolver, its barrel still faintly smelling of burnt powder. Detective Hensley didn't need a lab result to know what it meant. "We've got our weapon," he muttered, glancing toward the house where Tara sat inside a squad car, her head buried in her hands. Within hours, the crime scene became a circus of flashing lights and whispers. Neighbors stood behind police tape, stunned. "She was such a nice girl," one woman said. "She'd help her grandmother with groceries every weekend." But as the hours rolled on, a different story began to take shape, one woven with greed, manipulation, and teenage desperation.
Tara's second interview was different. This time, she didn't pretend to be shocked. Her voice trembled, but she spoke with the clarity of someone who had been holding a secret too long. "It was Uriah's idea," she said, eyes fixed on the floor. "He said we'd take her money, her jewelry, and we'd run away, just us. No one would ever find us." Detectives listened in silence as Tara unraveled the timeline. Uriah had convinced her that Tammy, her own grandmother, was the only thing standing between them and freedom. Tammy disapproved of their relationship, often warning Tara that Uriah was trouble waiting to happen. To Uriah, that was enough reason to remove her from the picture. "He said she'd never let us go," she continued, "that she'd call the cops or tell my parents. He said, once she was gone, we'd finally be free." Detective Hensley leaned forward. "Did you know he planned to kill her?" Tara hesitated. "He said he'd just scare her, take what we needed. She wasn't supposed to die." Meanwhile, investigators executed a search warrant at Uriah's apartment. What they found sealed his fate. Hidden inside a shoebox under his bed was Tammy King's credit card, along with handwritten notes, lists of valuables, addresses, and a chilling sketch of the grandmother's house labeled entry points. By morning, Uriah was arrested without incident. As officers led him away in handcuffs, his expression was eerily calm, almost proud. "You think you got the story?" he said to reporters. "You don't know anything yet." At the police station, Uriah denied everything. "Tara's lying," he said. "She's setting me up. She wanted her grandma's money. I just went along with it." But the evidence told a different story. His fingerprints were on the gun. Gunshot residue covered his hoodie, and Tammy's blood was found on the cuff of his jeans. The district attorney's office charged him with capital murder, a crime eligible for life without parole. Tara, being underage at the time, faced a lesser charge but still risked decades behind bars. The community couldn't understand it. How could two teenagers, barely old enough to vote, plan something so cold, so calculated? Detective Hensley later told a reporter, "It wasn't just about money. It was about control. Uriah wanted to own her, body, mind, and soul. And anyone who got in his way was disposable." But even as the case seemed airtight, something still didn't add up. The duffel bag found in the shed contained far more than Tammy's belongings. There was also a sealed envelope with a note inside. The handwriting wasn't Uriah's. It wasn't Tara's either. And when investigators read what was written on that folded piece of paper, the entire motive of the crime came crashing down. Because the note revealed a secret Tammy King had been hiding all along, one that could change everything they thought they knew about this murder. The note found inside the duffel bag was written on cream-colored stationery, the kind older people used for birthdays and thank you letters. It was neatly folded, sealed with a piece of tape, and tucked between Tammy King's jewelry and cash. The handwriting was elegant but shaky, clearly hers. Detective Hensley unfolded it slowly. The first line made his stomach twist. "If you're reading this, something has gone wrong." Tammy's words painted a picture far more complex than anyone had imagined. The letter wasn't just a goodbye, it was a confession of fear. She wrote that she believed her granddaughter was in danger, manipulated by Uriah, and that she planned to go to the police that week. She'd even written Tara's name at the bottom, followed by, "I still believe there's good in you, but if he hurts you, don't protect him. Tell the truth." When the letter was shown to Tara, she broke down completely. "She knew," she whispered. "She tried to stop it, and I helped him anyway." The courtroom months later was packed. Reporters filled every bench, the air electric with tension. Uriah sat motionless at the defense table, wearing the same blank stare he had during his arrest. Tara testified under oath, her voice trembling, as she told the jury how everything spiraled out of control that night.
According to her, Uriah had promised it would be simple. Tammy would hand over her money and they'd leave before sunrise. But when Tammy refused and threatened to call 911, Uriah snapped. One gunshot, a scream, silence. Tara said she froze as Uriah covered the body with blankets, whispering, "It's done. We're free now." The courtroom was silent as the prosecution played the 911 call Tammy never got to finish. The muffled sound of her voice, the thud, the static. You could hear someone breathing in the background, steady, calm, unmistakably male. The jury didn't take long. After just 3 hours of deliberation, they found Uriah Lee Urick Jr. guilty of capital murder. When the sentence was read, life in prison without the possibility of parole, he didn't flinch. He just leaned back in his chair and smiled faintly, as if he'd won something no one else could see. Tara, charged as an accessory, was given a reduced sentence for cooperating. But even as she walked out of the courtroom in tears, she whispered, "I'll never forgive myself." Detective Hensley, standing outside the courthouse, watched the crowd scatter. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions, but in his mind he kept seeing the note, the one that Tammy had written in trembling ink, warning of the very thing that took her life. He later told a local paper, she tried to save her granddaughter right up until the end. She saw it coming. That's what makes this case so haunting. It wasn't just a murder, it was a tragedy no one wanted to believe could happen. Months passed. The house where Tammy was killed was eventually sold. The shed was torn down. But neighbors still say that on quiet Texas nights, you can hear the faint creak of a door, the hum of crickets, and a single echo of a woman's voice whispering through the dark, "Tell the truth." And maybe that's the lesson buried beneath it all. Love can blind you, money can corrupt you, but the truth always digs its way out. If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one. Hit subscribe, because the next case, it's darker, stranger, and it begins with the single text message that should have never been sent.